26, our housing bill, when it left here, we had what is called 511 pieces, which dealt with promoting housing. It has the name 511 because Seth Bongartz was an H bill that really didn't deal with anything on expanding Act 250 jurisdiction. It didn't deal with forest fragmentation. It just dealt with things like PHP, duplication of water. It was all pro-housing without any kind of necessary environmental stuff inside. We had all those pieces in ours. Senator Bray had his same pieces in 234. When our 226 went to the House, in the House's wisdom, in this bill that is now back to us for concurrence or whatever further action, they stripped all the 511 pieces from the bill and they let them go forward in 234, which is now on the floor. Quite frankly, for 6 years or 4 years, we've been tied to promoting housing, to having a quid pro quo with expansion of Act 250, which has not gotten us anywhere. I'm tired of it. And I think the same fate is going to happen here, whether we run out of time or whether there's a veto, and we're going to lose these valuable pieces from 511. So one of the choices is to concur with further amendment and put the 511 pieces back into 226. It could be risky because we could just concur with this right now and we could go home. I could be on the golf course, my last thing, but I don't want to lose all those 511 pieces, and that's where we're headed.
Have you spoken with?
I haven't spoken with anybody. This has all been developing in my head.
Okay.
This morning, I want to speak to leadership. I want to I talked to Carolyn a little bit yesterday. I'm willing to talk to Senator Bray, but I may be doing this on my own. I'm just tired of this. You know.
So your proposal is to
put 511 back on this bill and send it back to, and I may have some people who might want to join me in that.
So tell me, in terms of the details, what specific provisions you want to add back?
Here we go. That's where Ellen
the
comes in.
511 pieces.
So exactly what they are.
Sure. So it was the expansion of the neighborhood development areas to include the flood hazard areas, as well as allowing towns to file joint applications, striking the requirements that towns have a municipal water and sewer to have an NDA, and then the required density of 40 units per acre in an NDA. The same required 4 units of density for new town centers. The municipal permits can't expire in less than 2 years. Raising the cap on the number of exempt housing units for priority housing projects under Act 250 from 25 to 50. Changing the definition of mixed income to match VHFA's definition, expanding priority housing projects definition to allow NDAs to have mixed use projects, simplifying the exemption from Act 250 for NDAs. There also, so that was the Act 250 stuff. There was also for ADUs, the parking, so that no more than 1 parking space per bedroom for ADUs. And then there was the municipal bylaw grant program.
Is that the municipal bylaw grant program? Has that been taken care of anywhere else at this point?
It's in 234. So that was not in.
All of this stuff is in 234, right?
Right. Sorry.
Except for the duplication program.
Oh, right. So there was also the wastewater permit. So
that's in 511. The wastewater is the wastewater duplication piece in 511. Is it 226? It's not in 230.
It was in our version of 226.
it's nowhere right now. Yeah.
Wastewater, so that's a big flag. So the wastewater, the duplicative wastewater permitting piece is not anywhere right now.
right? The House, took it out,
Right, there was an S101
that was
too
101, yeah.
last year. And we were actually theoretically in conference on that bill as well, but they haven't appointed a confirmation. So, so there's a lot of good stuff for housing, every one of those things. Pro housing, and, housing is supposed to be, all our leadership, both in the House and the Senate side, said housing is the priority. And we're gonna leave these on the table if we don't somehow reattach them to.
So it's NDAs, to answer Randy's questions, NDAs, it's expanding priority housing. It's simplifying NDA permitting, if we do the expanded NDA stuff. It's ADUs. And what's the other big bucket?
The municipal bylaw grants.
Yeah, modernization.
Modernization grants, and then also
Are they not anywhere else?
the bylaw modernization grants are 234.
And these are,
All of this stuff is in 234, except for the
The wastewater.
duplication, but 234 doesn't seem to have a path to become law.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure those things pass. If I could be convinced that there's a path for 234, I'm just tired.
I
Winding
hear
up
you.
at the end of the session with the same thing, the toxicity of Act 250 things killing our houses.
And this is, I think, where we need a fairly frank conversation with leadership, whole leadership, to discuss that, quite frankly. And that, I think, is because there are two paths, possible paths for 234, I mean, at the moment, where we sit.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, what else is in 234 that may be poisonous?
Well, there's the three big pieces. There's the housing exemptions, the Act 250 exemptions for downtowns. There is the forest fragmentation piece. Very important, we took out the road rule. I mean, we didn't pass. But the road rule is gone, and governance, the restructuring of governance is the third piece. Those are the three big pieces that are now in 234.
And the governor announced yesterday, even trying to fix those things at this point, he's still gonna not veto it. And if you change it now to make some accommodations, then it's not gonna get rule suspensions, you're gonna run out of time.
Correct. That is our challenge, is the running out of time. And unless we go through it and unless we agree, unless it's a big enough priority for people to
Which
stay.
was obviously helpful. The forest fragmentation is still there, it's not. In terms of letting veto.
The forest fragmentation is such a key balance, though, to the downtown piece.
It's poisonous.
Yeah, I don't understand why his own commissioner of forest parks and rec is the architect of it.
Names don't like.
Well, we can't go building hugely in one area and not protect another area for most of it.
Yeah, it's
I mean, that's
smart.
the big,
It's not always
yeah.
smart. And one of the perceptions throughout all of this is it's anti-rural.
that's
It's
not.
nice to be able to look at green pastures and so on.
It's
But
not
if you're
pasture.
live in the green pastures,
This is protecting our forest products industry. This is protecting the lungs of the Northeast. This is
I think there's.
absolutely supporting development in our village centers.
There's
Every,
significant debate and the whole issue of
Yeah.
the concentration of development in village centers is perceived as anti-development for those of us who live in rural areas who don't live in villages.
yeah, but most towns have a village center,
But
no matter how rural
you-
they are.
almost the perception of vantage stands as far as rural Vermont is concerned. It's not particularly, there are different views on that. But I'm just telling you why it's poisonous.
Yeah.
And why there is opposition to it. And again, I don't see a great pathway forward to 234 as a result.
Right.
So that said, on some of the other issues that would ease housing, if we do what you want to do, and that is add something to it, do you jeopardize the potential of getting the things that are already here?
I don't think so. If you support them, I don't think so. I mean, it only makes the bill better from the governor's perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, the easy thing for me to do is this would be my last thing I'm working on, just to concur, and I'm done with my work. But, and that's the sure thing.
Yeah.
But I see these things as valuable, and I see a path forward if we can. I'm gonna need to be convinced that there's a path forward at 234.
I'm not convinced there's a path forward at all.
I'm actually not at all, right?
No,
And
I'm
so,
not.
and with that being the case, I want to make this effort here to take off. I mean, the stuff I want to put back is in our bill. It passed unanimously in the Senate. I just want to go back to that. I concur with the other changes they made. They
Well, what do you
did
see in the house, that goes back to the house, what do you see?
that I can't say, but the House has also made housing a priority. If that has missing middle in it, I think they would probably, and they like all the stuff that we want put in here. It's in 234. They passed those things already. It just wouldn't have the governance, it wouldn't have the forms, fragmentation, it's just be housing.
So the challenge with changing this is the same as we faced with 234. It has to go back to the House.
But why would they? I can't see why they wouldn't suspend the rules. Where's the objection? Unless it's from the environmental, if it's from the environmental community,
Yeah.
because they want to preserve this balance into another biennium. I'm tired of doing that. you
Okay,
know?
don't, yeah, I hear you, but I think that's a full leadership conversation, which is, we would need to know that the minority leadership would support rule suspensions all the way through for one and not the other. I mean, we need to know the lay of the land before we make this
On
decision.
something like this, I would sort of have a conversation.
So I would, we also this morning have to do 320. I mean, there are other things we need to do this morning, but I would propose that if people have time, we're not on the floor till 10, that we actually, this is the most important conversation we have to have now with our partners in crime. I mean, with minority leadership, with majority leadership, with our respective speaker and pro tem. Because and this is a big conversation about what we want to do on a bunch of key bills. And these are, I want to point out, these are competing goods. And I think these are challenging because they're competing goods. And you know, I'm very torn about this.
Yeah, but for me, they're competing goods, but staying with the environmentalists are trying to bring what they consider balances is a road I've been down twice already.
We have been burnt on
It
this road.
sounds like these issues have been on the table for years now. They keep coming back and they keep saying, give us a chance to get the governor on board with this, and it's just not happening. So, you know, I'm tired of it. And we need to, housing is a priority, and let's get this done. I mean, if Patty McCoy, I can't imagine why, if we sent her this, she wouldn't suspend one. But if she says she's not, then we could just concur, and you know, 234 could die.
I'm happy to have a conversation, because I think this does play better to our interests.
Sorry, yeah.
You have to louder.
I just, my hearing aids is charging again. So I don't know what the timing is. I mean, if we were, the normal course here of this is we would take a vote in committee and present our position, but I think I feel strongly enough that I may do this on my own.
Well, before you do that, let's,
Yeah.
I would
I'm willing to talk to people.
I would propose that if leadership is all available right now, that we have this conversation.
Well, I think Patty and I should have a conversation
Yes.
separately.
I think you and Patty need to have the conversation.
And for that, would be helpful, Ella, to have the list of those things that would be added back in.
Sure.
So, do you have a
Oh, well,
summary?
yeah, so I
Oh,
would
could
just
we
say,
make a copy of that for us?
this is the prior summary, this is the summary David sent you on April 1st that I've been looking at, because this is the version of the bill that you all passed. And so I would just want to make sure I know the exact list you're talking about too, because are you talking about the wastewater language as well?
Yes.
Okay, so, so yeah, I could just show you which, it would be sections 1 through 6, and then the 19 and 20, and the bylaw modernization grant.
It's just, we don't have any statute. Yeah, we have to come up, we should have a statute.
Okay.
So basically,
We have a
I need-
wastewater-
I need the House proposal amendment, whatever the House has proposed to us, one, and then two of the things that we want to add.
This is
That's right here.
226.
All right, so this
That's
is-
basically
this is proposed
It's pretty
amendment.
much our bill
Yeah.
without the land use housing pieces. They strip those out, and put those in 234. Ellen, we talked about it, but there's one other, I think the other major change they made has to do with setting up a land use advisory council with a VHCB for, do you know what they did on that?
No, I don't. I think is that in section 4? Yeah, I don't know. I only did the tax credit stuff that's still in there.
It's a,
So, 511,
on page 37, Randy, land access and opportunity. Do you know anything about that? Randy? Jen Holler would know about it. It's to, I guess, get,
You want me to see if
Historically-
Jen is upstairs?
Jen's here in the building.
historically marginalized disadvantaged
Right.
groups into home ownership to do
You want me to try to find Jen?
so
Okay.
I have just,
I think it's important, but it's not.
yes, the pro tem would like us in there for office.
Okay.
Fine. Okay, can we take a break from committee because we have also 3:20 we need to discuss.
So if you can start cutting and pasting, because I may offer the amendment myself.
Okay.